time to get your fix. Come on down, get your horrible gaming review. 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 Wow.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome back to another horrible game review. You have chosen for whatever reason to listen to this, so I'm going to go ahead and start off where I usually do with a couple of disclaimers. Number one, the word horrible in the title of this content does not refer necessarily to the game or DLC that I'm reviewing. It actually refers to the content itself. I do snap judgment reviews here. I get 5 to 10 hours max with the game usually before I give the review. And the idea behind that is I'm just trying to give you a snapshot picture of what this game is and whether you're not going to have fun right off the bat or not, or whether or not it's for you. Because of that, I also don't give scored reviews for my reviews. I also believe this is the most objective form of art, and therefore what I'll be doing is I'll give you an overview of what the game is, then I'm going to give you a list of the pros and the cons of the game from my point of view, as all reviews are. Then I'm going to tell you whether I personally will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this review or not. So, all of that out of the way, let's get into it. We're reviewing Anvil today. Now, I want to say one more quick disclaimer before we get into this. This is a game preview game, and you can definitely tell that right off the bat getting into it. So, while I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky on the cons, I would expect that a good amount of this is going to be fixed before the full release. Nonetheless, it's out. It's in Game Pass. You can play it now for free, and I want to tell you about it. So, what is Anvil? Well, Anvil immediately tells you what the story is right off the bat. Basically, in the future, you find these really resource-heavy planets, but they're protected by these robot monster things. However, somewhere along the line, they figure out how to use that technology to make breakers, which, not gonna lie, a little bit ripped off Warframe, though it's a great premise, so I don't have a problem with it. But basically, the breakers are pilots who then pilot these vault breaker robots, which they do it basically via like a mind link with the robot. So the robot gets destroyed, the person doesn't, and you can just keep coming back in and in and in and in. So that's what the point of this game is. It has heavy roguelike elements, but it also wants to give you a sense of progression. So you immediately after the story start off in this kind of like hub where you can jump into your next mission. You can check out what breakers you have. You can upgrade the breakers that you currently have equipped. You can also check data and check something else. And then you can jump into the mission, which you can do multiplayer or solo. Now, just so you guys know, I did not play multiplayer. I just wasn't feeling it. Plus, the times that I had to record, I just didn't know anybody on. I didn't want to play this with anybody. And honestly, I don't... while there is definitely multiplayer aspects to it, we're going to talk about some of the multiplayer stuff, even though I didn't play it, just because I'm a little bit weirded out by certain things. Nonetheless, then it procedurally generates what you're going to go up against with a series of rooms, a series of challenges, and a different planet every time. So you never jump in, well, sometimes you jump into a planet you've done before, but you never jump into the same planet twice, and you never jump in to face the same monsters. However, each planet has a set monster thing that comes at you, and those monsters also have status effects and defenses from elemental stuff, which is a huge thing. In each room, you can find like a skill box that you can buy skills that upgrade your skills temporarily during that run, much like your normal roguelites out there, but for a currency that you earn by killing monsters and breaking barrels. You also have I think there's like one box per planet that just upgrades one of your big skills in a big way, which is nice. And then you have 4 temporary skills that you use, to fight with. This is it's from the top down kind of shooter style, but they definitely tried to incorporate close combat breakers as well. Now, when you start, you're going to have 3 breakers unlocked. Guillotine, a close combat breaker. Juggler, I think his name is. Juggler, which is kind of like almost like a ranger class. Like it starts with an assault rifle. It's very basic, but it has like these trip mines and these rockets. It's a good class. And then you also start with another one that with Elsa, which has like frost powers, can summon monsters from the ground, and uses dual-wielding weapons and a lot of speed. Now, the balance is a little bit rough on these breakers that I've noticed, but there's also a code on Twitter that allowed me to get enough points to buy one more breaker. I bought the Coast Combat breaker. Oh, man, I can't even remember his name. Nonetheless, he was not my favorite, without a doubt, so I kind of felt like I wasted that. It takes about 1,000 of these things called Cron to unlock a breaker, and the customization on breakers are limited. You have to get all of that through seasonal play, which is a little frustrating. We'll get into that. Now, moving on, that's basically it. You earn temporary skills in the moment to earn yourself season points on kind of like a battle pass structure. When you earn those season points, I think it's like every other one is like a cron, and then a season point, and then a cron. And then basically when you earn those season points, you can actually upgrade the breaker's skills permanently, which is a nice addition. I always like that kind of stuff in roguelite stuff so that you can get a little bit further. It gives you that reason to go in again instead of just dying and having no like upgradable moments in the outside. So that's nice. And with that, that's what this game is right there. You can play with some friends if you want, and you unlock galaxies as you go. It's very stripped down right now. You can tell this is a beta. So again, I am going to get nitpicky, but I just want to say again up front, this is a beta. It's not finished. It's very clear that it's not finished. So we're probably going to check back when it does get done. So let's go to the pros first. First of all, the pros. Music has got to be number one pro. I loved the music in this. It was a very kind of low, kind of just metal kind of style of butt rock. So it's not necessarily memorable, but it always got my blood pumping. Kind of like Doom, but not as good. Like Doom's, like Doom's crappy brother, like who thinks it's as good as Doom but isn't. But it's good, but it's just not quite as good. That's what I felt through the entire music, which is not bad. I mean, if you're the Doom soundtrack crappy brother, you're still pretty good. So I think that this came out good musically. I always felt hyped. I liked the musical riffs going in, and it definitely got my juices pumping when it came to the action. Now, on the action side, you use the left stick to control. It's twin stick. It's twin stick shooter all the way. Should have mentioned that on the onset. So you use the right stick to actually engage your weaponry. And I'm not super in love with this play style ever, because it's just hard for me to wrap my brain around that's where my character's aiming instead of just where he's pointed. So that being said, it was a little tricky, but I'm not gonna give him a con for that. Nonetheless, the explosions, the action, it feels crisp, it feels nice. I liked how responsive the characters were. I never felt like I was taking undue damage, which often in twin stick shooters I feel like I'm dodging around and still taking a bunch of damage. And yeah, there is a variation of the combat which I enjoyed. My third pro is the selection of abilities that you get. One of the cool things about this game that I enjoyed right off the bat, and that I don't like about some other roguelikes, is there's often a choice that I end up having to make in the skills where I'm like, I don't want or need any of these skills for what I'm trying to do with my character. I never really felt that way with this. All the skills feel usable and good. Well, I think I only found one skill that I was like, that's only usable with another skill. And that's really nice for a roguelike. It makes me feel like I'm constantly progressing instead of accidentally buying a bunch of skills that I don't like. I did not mention this in the review for Mr. X's Nightmare back when I did the survival mode for Streets of Rage 4, but playing it since then has kind of given me the sense the one thing I don't like about it is the fact that often you get a selection of skills that will not help you in any way, shape, or form, and you end up with this like random smattering of skills that don't kind of like link up together. I don't like my roguelikes to be that random. I love the idea of roguelikes when they can produce a build but on the fly, like what Hades did. I love that, where it's like I always feel like I'm improving my character and using my intelligence to decide whether to boost the skills I already have or get new skills to complement the skills that I have. I like that, but sometimes you get roguelites where it's just like, here's 3 random abilities that are good, but alone, your character ends up getting to the high level, and since he doesn't have anything really boosted anywhere, he ends up getting taken out. That's not the case here in Anvil. Anvil has a really, really good skill progression system through the roguelite things. I never once looked at the abilities. Like, there was definitely ones that I wanted over other ones, but there was never once did I buy an ability and think that is not going to be useful in any way, shape, or form during my playtime here, which is nice. Alright, we got to head over to the cons. I know there wasn't a ton of pros. I do want to say that this game, again, is in beta. I am going to have more cons than pros. However, I respect their trial. I respect the uniqueness of this game. And I really do want to see where this game is in the future. However, they have a long way to go. But again, this is a beta. Still, this is also a review. So I got to talk about these things. Number one with a bullet, most annoying thing I found was that the amount of damage done to barrels, which have coins in them in each room, you got to break all those barrels, is it's a stagnant damage amount for the barrel, which is weird because when you're they don't just break when you shoot them, which is weird because and let me explain why. If I'm a close combat character, I run up to a barrel, I hit it, it breaks, I get the stuff, I'm great. With any of the ranged characters, since the ranged weapons shoot more but do less damage, you have to just sit there for like a 5 count shooting at the barrel to get it to bust to get the coins out. I was so irritated with this. I mean, so irritated with this by the end of my playing with this game that this just has to change. Barrels, make them a stagnant damage amount. 1, you hit it, it breaks, you get the coins. Don't make it a standard amount. This isn't a role-playing game. You don't need that level of realism. It's just silly, and it takes really it just makes the ranged characters need to like do level management longer, and it's just annoying. It's just annoying. Now, my biggest actual technical con has to be balancing issues. What do I mean by balancing issues? Okay. So I played all 3 of the starter breakers at least on 1 run, and I played my breaker at least on 1 run. And here's the thing. The melee characters, and maybe I'm just not playing it right, that's possible, but it really felt like the melee characters were underpowered. They can't eat up that much more damage, so that when they're in close, they're just constantly eating it. They do a lot of damage, but the enemy waves, there's no real way to take defensive actions. I feel like the ranged characters are a cool idea, but without the proper balancing, they really don't fit in here. Maybe they're a little bit better in multiplayer. Again, I didn't try that, but we're going to talk about that in a second. And I don't know. I did not love the ranged characters, the melee characters. On top of that, the ranged characters, especially one of them, seems way overbalanced. Elsa is insane. Elsa summons a frickin' robot sandworm in the middle of the field that just has tons of health and just beats down on everything. And as well as distracts the hordes, which is hugely useful. And sure, Elsa can't take as much damage. She's probably the flimsiest of all of them, but she still takes enough to where, like, you could take a bruising. I easily had the best runs with her, and it was obvious why. Her strategy is flat straight. Her damages are huge. She has so much good synergy between her abilities, and this was kind of the problem I was noticing in the builds. Again, I only got to play 4, but with the melee build people, their abilities don't really complement anything. They're just bigger AoE effects or bigger damage in one place. Like, that's what they do. Whereas Elsa, immediately I saw the strategy. You summon the sandworm, you can hit this knockback shield, which is another ability that freezes everybody. Then you have this special close combat cannon that you hit, and it's just this laser that you hold on people. And then you've got a teleport to teleport in and out of battle. Like, the strategy is there. Like, every battle was rinse repeat. Same with Juggler. I don't know if it's Juggler or Jungler. I'm not sure. But so if I'm saying it wrong, please apologies. But he has these trip mines that you drop everywhere. So you drop the mines, you drop back, you let the things walk over the mines, then you drop big AoE effects from behind. Like, that kind of stuff, I really wish that gets better. I hope that gets better. We need some balancing on the melee characters. Melee characters in this top-down kind of shooter kind of area is unique. It is interesting. I'd love to see it more. But at the same time, if it's not done well, no one's going to want to play them. And they look really cool, but I couldn't do really anything with them. And that, again, that might be my skill level, but still, this was a bother. Now, going into the multiplayer thing, this is kind of branded a little bit as a multiplayer, like take your friends in and go in. But however, you can only play 3 different galaxies. Now, the way the breaking works is like you start on a planet. That's your first little dungeon. Once you get through that, you go to another planet, fight a boss. Then you go to another planet that you have to explore. Then you fight a boss. You see where I'm going with this. And each planet is randomly picked, which gives you that different biome. The problem is that the original galaxy that you start in as a breaker has a maximum limit of 2 players. So you can literally only play with another person. And for 2021 as a multiplayer game, I don't know, that's not really there. Like, especially since there's no couch co-op for it either. I do think this game would benefit from couch co-op on a huge level. Developers, if by some chance you listen to this, I think you should try and do that because, especially with 2 people, that would be a lot of fun. But as far as multiplayer goes, I can't get a group together and get into the game. It's got to just be one other person. And how often does that happen? Not rarely for me. So that was a little bit weird, like especially with the branding on that. Also, if there's a 2-player limit and it says it straight up under that galaxy, you know that the other locked galaxies have higher player limits. Why would you do that? Why would you make somebody play with only one person for the first galaxy, then let another person come in, even though you've only practiced with one other person? Guys, you can't do that. I don't know what the balancing is or whatever, but you need to either allow 3 people, allow 4 people, or just allow 2 people. You can't mix and match with that. It throws everything off for multiplayer. So that's a big one, and I don't know if they can correct that one this late. So I think that's a big con that's probably going to stay even into the release, which is a bummer. And then finally, I want to talk about functionality here in the cons. And again, this is real nitpicky. This is all stuff that will probably be fixed by release, and I want you guys to keep that in mind. Maybe if this is stuff that would keep you from having fun, then wait a little bit. But the functionality of the menus in this game is super lackluster. And what I mean by that is you have this battle pass system. The battle pass system is not viewable by any pause screen, data screen, or anything in the lobby. I cannot review it, nor if I don't know what the symbols are on the battle pass, can I figure out what they are. The only time you see the battle pass is when you have failed a mission, or I'm guessing succeeded it, and are returning to the lobby. It basically gives you your stats, it tells you how much you've leveled up the battle pass, and if you leveled up to get something, for about 2 seconds up in the top of the screen, it pops up what you got for that thing. But still, all the battle pass has is like a level number and then like an insignia that makes no sense because it's future sci-fi, like croms and season points. I had to figure those out. And I can't access it or review it anywhere, which is frustrating. Like, why can't I access it? Why can't I review it? Why can't I look at what I've done? They need some more detailed stuff like that. And that's a good example of a lot of stuff that happens here. There's a lot of menus and functionality that are just kind of irritating that, again, they're probably going to fix as they go. But one of the big ones, too, is every time you start this game, the story plays. Like, the opening story cinematic plays. It doesn't go to a title screen or anything. It plays it over again. You can skip it, which is great, but let's face it, just take us to the title screen and allow us to watch the story if we want to or not. Why does that have to play every time? It's weird. I mean, it's very 90s, like old Genesis. But even those games would usually take you to the main screen, and if you waited, you got to see the story. It's very confusing. But again, those are just little functionality things, little tweaks that the developers need to make over the course of the early access, the game preview, whatever you want to call it. I still think this is an interesting and unique take, and ambitious. I like the robots. I like the scenery. I'm not in love with the top-down stuff, but I like the roguelite elements. So, at this particular juncture, as far as sticking with it, I'm probably not going to be sticking with it. I think it's a little bit too early in the development. I want to see where this goes. I want to see where it is in like 6 months or so. I'll probably come back and check it out. It has some interesting products here, interesting stuff to offer you, but at the same time, it's a little rough in this particular phase, in this particular juncture. I mean, even for game preview, this is a little bit doughy out of the oven, as to speak. So I'm probably not going to be playing it for the foreseeable future. However, I'm going to give you a maybe on the stick with it, because I might come back to this. I'm definitely going to check in time to time to see what's been added, what's been changed. So hope that helped you guys. Hoped if you want to play Anvil, this helped you make your decision. And if it didn't, you can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong or I'm right or whatever. Love to hear from you. And you can also contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Link is in the description below. You can influence us in all of our shows from there. And as usual, as long as you keep making it, we'll keep as long as you keep watching it, we'll keep making it. Wow, I'm off today. You guys have a nice day.